Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to have you here. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about how to analyze and read up your textbook like a pro lawyer or like a pro law school student. So quick introduction, I'm a law school graduate and I graduated as top 2% of my class. So in terms of your textbook, the first thing that I do, to be honest with you, and I write about this in my actually one of the law school guide books that I wrote, which you can find in the link in the description below. One of them is called Straight A Student's Guide to Law School, and I go in a lot of very organized details on how to master the entire study techniques in law school to become a straight A student like myself. Guys, I'm going to explain something really important here as an introduction, but do stick around till the end of this video. There's so much important information that you need to learn in this video until the end. Very, very valuable information. So when you first open your textbook, you're going to realize that you don't really need to read everything inside. And to be honest with you, a lot of the information in there is something that's pretty intuitive. I know a lot of people may not agree, but they're just in denial, in my opinion, if they disagree with this. But law is made up by real people, and it's really just about rules. Like it's a social construct, and everything that's made by humans can be understandable, and law is just a bunch of words, to be honest. So, I mean, if you can't understand words, you know, we have a bigger problem. So the thing is that a lot of the legal rules are very, very logical, and that's something that I talk about in my book. You know, you have to approach the rules with logic. If a rule is not logical, it means you either didn't understand it properly, or, you know, the exceptional case is that it's a bad rule, which means that there's room for you to change it. So the first thing that I do when I open up my textbook, as you can see here, is skim through really quickly the chapters. The chapters are so important to look at. Now, I even believe that the table of contents are even more important than the text itself, because you always need to have a certain organization in your head and a structure, because whenever any client that asks you a question as a lawyer later on, or the professor himself in the exam, you're gonna have to refer to a certain structure, a skeleton in your head, in order for it to extract the legal information that you're looking for. And so what I suggest is, first you look at the table of contents. So first I see introduction, and then the sources of criminal procedure, and so on, and then I can find so this is a book about criminal procedure, and so I can find in each chapter title the different procedural main key things that I need to know and that are important to know, and that's why it's important to look at your table of contents. And before getting lost in the details and the nitty-gritty part of the law, you really, really need to understand the main key things. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. So I look at these really quickly and try to think about what each and one of those can be. I really try to let my imagination run wild here, and I try to think about, you know, what could this mean? And I try to picture about, you know, certain facts and situations where a certain key chapter may apply to. And so if there's something that completely resonates with you and you can already imagine what it is, then I would imagine that you wouldn't need to read that chapter very closely or carefully or slowly. But if there's a word in one of these chapter titles that you absolutely have no clue what that even means, then that would mean that the first thing you need to do is go to that chapter and actually read up on it. So that's the first thing that I do. And then the second thing that I do is look at the professor's syllabus and see what next class I need to prepare for. And believe it or not, I don't actually go to the textbooks first. I go to the primary sources first. Again, that's something that I talk about in my book, so please refer to that to know why, and do the same thing that I do for a smart rationale, actually. And so after I check out the cases and the primary sources, and I feel like there's more that I need to know about the topic, you know, in terms of doctrines, or to be able to answer essay questions in the exam, what I do is go to the chapter that I'm supposed to prepare for next class, but go to that chapter, to that same chapter in the textbook, and then I look at the more detailed table of contents there, and try to figure out, again, like the structure of that chapter. So the first thing that we looked at was the chapter titles. But now the next thing is going into more depth is, the structure of the chapter itself. And so let's take here, for example, search and seizure. I see that there's A, B, and C. So it's divided in 3 parts, and so I see that there may be more or less 3 main parts for search and seizure. The first one says reasonable expectation of privacy. The second one says, was the search unreasonable? And so that gives me like 2 main ideas in my head, that, there's an idea of privacy that applies to that topic, and then some sort of question about unreasonableness. Now, obviously, I know what that is, but I'm pretending that I don't if I were in your shoes looking at this for the first time. And then I see that there's, it says here a call-in test, and then I look at the test itself to see what's up, y'all. And then I go to those exact pages of the test in the book and check those out. So my key recommendation is to read as little as possible. I know that sounds counterintuitive, and that's something that professors will go against me for, probably the whole system. But you know what? I didn't get A's by following the system. I got A's by being lazy, quite honest with you, and doing the least amount of work possible, but getting the most information from that small work possible. And that's what I recommend, because you don't want to complicate things. The law is already complicated in and of itself, just by how it's made, not substantively. So you want to simplify things, because things are supposed to be simple. If it's not simple, then there's something wrong about it. So yeah, that would be pretty much it, guys. That's how I read up on my textbook. Now, I do go into full details on how I highlight my textbook, because believe it or not, everything you read, never, ever, 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 ever waste your time. Everything you read should be used as a source for your exam. And so what I mean by that is that never, ever read something more than 2 times without doing anything about it. So what you do is, the first time that you read, you grab your highlighters and highlight just like I recommend to you in my book. This way, when you're done with the reading, and you know that this topic is important, you bookmarked it or something with like a post-it or something like that. That's what I usually do sometimes, and I write on the post-it themselves. This way, when you go back to that topic, it's already highlighted like it's supposed to be highlighted, in a way that you can directly, dart your eyes on the most important information that you would use in an exam. And usually that's not more than 1 sentence max. Believe me, 3-hour exam, you don't need more than a sentence for a topic to reference, basically. So if you didn't highlight, you would have wasted your time. Say, for example, you didn't really understand the topic, or you forgot about it with time, and then as the semester progressed, you have to go back to that topic and basically review that chapter or that topic, and you didn't highlight anything the first time that you read it, then here you go. You have to reread everything all over again, even the things that are not important, and you just wasted, again, probably 2 hours of your life for nothing. So please do highlight and underline things the first time you get your eyes on them. Super important tip, guys. I cannot stress that enough. It's going to help you for the long run, and trust me, I learned that the hard way. Also, there's a special way to underline. You don't underline like crazy, and you don't highlight like crazy. Basically, your page shouldn't turn pink or blue or yellow. It should look like a diagram, and I show you how to do that in my book. But if you still have questions, feel free to comment below. So that's pretty much it, guys. Keep watching for more videos. And by the way, if you want to check out my study routine, a very balanced, healthy, productive routine to enjoy your days in law school and not be depressed yet still be a straight A student, check out the previous video that I have on the channel. It's amazing. I loved filming it, really proud of it. And subscribe if you want more advice. I can talk about anything you want me to talk about in law school, even go into substantive advice if you'd like. So feel free to ask questions, and follow us and hit the thumbs up button if you like this video. See you guys soon. Bye.